with Garnacho basically saying that I don't want to leave. Like, I know that Chelsea is interested in me, but like turn them down. What would have been your reaction? Would you have been like, oh, he loves the club, let's keep him at the club and just back him to, like, fully fit in this system one day and just basically fight for his place? Would that have been your reaction, or would your reaction have been that get out of my club, guys? Yo, you guys, what is good, man? Welcome back to Real United Talk, where we talk about all matters Real Madrid and Man United. This is going to be a United Matters episode, and the topic of today is Alejandro Garnacho. And when I say that name, I think a lot of people know what I'm about to talk about. It is the situation with Garnacho right now at United, and basically the ultimatum that he gave United, which said that he needs to get this transfer over the line. United need to get that shit together and get this transfer over the line. And then if he ends up staying, that he was going to sit on the bench for 6 to 12 months, and that's basically like a threat to United. Like, like if you don't get this transfer over the line, I'm just going to sit on the bench and chow wages. Basically, that's basically what he's saying. Like, even if you guys need me, even if everybody in that attack is injured, don't call me, bro. I am not playing. And I've been seeing the way a lot of people have been talking about this topic. I've seen a lot of people's opinions, watched a lot of videos, just to see what everybody's like, just to gauge what everybody's saying about the matter. And I'm about to give my own opinion right now, but just like quick public service announcement. Like, there's going to be people that don't 100% agree with me on this matter. I feel like there's a way I felt about the whole Garnacho situations ever since the Europa League. I'm going to get into all of that, but like, I'm just going to clear off the air with this whole Garnacho situation and just give you guys my opinion on the matter. So before I do that, I'm just going to give a quick like backstory as to everything that is going on. So obviously, this whole Garnacho thing kind of started all the way back in May, the Europa League final. Garnacho had played most of our Europa League games, if not all our Europa League games. I think he has started most of them, if not all of them. And when the Europa League final came about, Ruben Amorim just like put him on the bench and started missing out who did not really perform in the Europa League final, but like that's not the main point right now. But yeah, he put Messi Mount came back from injury, put Messi Mount into the squad and left Garnacho on the bench. We ended up losing the game, and then Garnacho ended up coming out to the media, say basically like expressing his displeasure in being put on the bench. And then ever since then, there's been all this talk around Garnacho, about him potentially leaving. And then there was the thing about women. I mean, basically telling him to like find a club. Like, I think it was in that same May. Like, he told him to find a club because like he's no longer in his plans for Man United and everything. Kind of makes sense with the whole situation going on. So like throughout this summer now, there's been all this noise around Garnacho. He was one of the 5 players that they were being talked about. Like, I think it was Garnacho, Rashford, Malacia, Sancho, and Anthony. So all those 5 players, basically, it was said in the media that they wanted moves away from Man United, right? So obviously, Rashford has gotten his move away, loan with an option to buy to Barcelona. And Garnacho looks to be the next one out. And there's this whole situation with Chelsea, which like like Chelsea is a team that is really interested in him. They really want him, and United have basically said that asking price, which is £50 million. And there's not been this whole saga now about like Garnacho leaving and going to Chelsea. Like, like United don't want to budge on that price. I think they already budged on the price because I think at first it was 70 million, if I'm not mistaken, and then it became 50 million. So like, budging on the price a bit to make sure that Garnacho gets the move away from United, because like, he's not in their plans and they don't want to pay him for nothing. But like, no, this transfer has kind of like been delayed for some time. It has been like how long? 2 weeks. Like, honestly, I can't remember how long it has been since this transfer came about, but I'll just say like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't know, something like that. But like, yeah, this transfer saga has kind of been going on for a while between like Garnacho and Chelsea, and I don't think it just started, but I think that they've reignited their interest and everything. And now Garnacho basically wants to get that move away. He basically wants to like get it going. Like, he wants to leave United as soon as possible. And I'm going to talk about this Garnacho situation, and I'm just going to say that like, I don't know if Garnacho is 100% wrong. I don't think that Garnacho is 100% wrong in everything that he's doing. Now, is he like expressing his displeasure in the right way? No. Could he have executed everything that he's doing better? Absolutely. Could he have handled this whole situation better? Absolutely. But I don't know if Garnacho is 100% wrong with everything that is going on right now. And I'm going to say that like ever since that Europa League final when we benched Garnacho for Messi Mount, I already kind of felt something. Like I already kind of felt bad for Garnacho. Like I already felt like we didn't make the service there because like I've said before that like it makes sense when like there's a player that's been playing in like in place of somebody in like a tournament like the Champions League or like whether it's Premier League, La Liga, wherever it is, and you know a player is playing in like a regular starter, like a regular starter's place for most of the time, and just because that player is like injured or something, and then maybe when like a big like an actual like big game comes about like the semi-final or the final of like the Champions League and that player comes back from injury, they put that starter that was injured for most of the time in the place of the substitute player and everything. And that kind of thing happens a lot, and it kind of makes sense. Like the exact same thing happened with Lunin and Courtois. Courtois was injured for most of the season. He was injured, and then Lunin was like our starter for La Liga, Champions League, everything. And when the Champions League came about, Courtois had recovered from injury. He had recovered a bit before then and played like one or two La Liga games, and then he played the Champions League final. And that can be like a big blow. Like I basically helped you guys to the Champions League final because Luni was very big for us in that run for the Champions League. This was the 2024 season, and when we played Champions League final against Dortmund, Luni was very big for us. And like just getting benched like that is it's kind of sad, but it's also understandable. Like, our main man is here. We need our main man kind of thing. Like, he might not be up to speed, but he's here. So, like, he's going to start. And that can be painful, but at the same time, it's understandable. But, like, that one is a different situation because Courtois is, like, the clear starter. Like, Courtois has proven himself to be the starter in Real Madrid. He has proven himself all over his career and everything. Now, this Garnacho and Messi situation, it is nothing like that. It was nothing like that because Mount has not done anything for United. Mount had not done anything for United to say that when I come back from injury, is wraps for whoever is playing that position. He had not done anything like yes, Mount fits this system more than Garnacho, but it doesn't. He hadn't even done anything under Ruben Amorim to come and say that yes, like I'm starting the Europa League final against you. Mount's best game was obviously the Bilbao game when he scored those two goals and everything. That was like a very good game like from Mount. Like that was one of his best games in the United shirt and everything. But I don't think that warrants like full on like benching Garnacho for a Europa League final. Like Garnacho had put his sweat and tears into that Europa League run. I'm not saying he was one of our best players. I'm not saying that like he automatically fit the system or anything. But Garnacho was one of our players in that Europa League run, one of our main players. And Mount coming back from injury should not say that oh yeah, now that Mount is back, I go to child bench because Mount has not done anything under Amorim to be like, yes, I'm a starter in this system. When I come, it's right for you. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense to me. Like, obviously, like, it's the manager's decision at the end of this. I'm not like going to full on like say that like, oh, Ben Amorim is wrong for benching Garnacho. It is his decision at the end of the day. And if we had won that game, it would have been a whole different story. But we didn't win that game. We lost that game, and one of the players that was missing throughout that game was missing out. And I said this in the episode where I talked about the Europa League final, and I said that as much as Garnacho might not have been our best player in that game, as much as he might not have been a game changer, the way that Mount went missing in that Europa League final, Garnacho won't have gone missing. There's anything I like about Garnacho is that he's always trying something. Like he's always trying something, whether it's dangerous, whether it's frustrating, he is always trying something, and he's always going to keep on working to make sure that something happens. And that's something to be like admired. Like I feel like Garnacho has those qualities that he's always going to try. And I feel like we miss him out was like he just went ghost in that game. We barely saw him, and we Garnacho like as much as like he would have been very frustrated in that game, probably like he won't have gone ghost. He won't have gone ghost. He would have had a few shots here and there. He would have tried to make something happen. Yes, he would have lost the ball a lot, but he would have tried to make something happen. He won't have gone ghost. So not only did you like sub in missing out for Garnacho, missing Mount did not now play well. We lost the Europa League final. You brought up Garnacho in what the 70th minute and everything. And you're shocked that like he's complaining that he didn't start. Like now this is now where I'm like the way Garnacho executed his displeasure maybe was not the best, right? Like he's maybe not the best. Like him just coming out in the media and saying what he said was not the best way to go about. Like this type of things should be more private conversations than public conversations. But at the same time, like I don't blame Garnacho for like just being displeased. Like honestly, like all of us in that situation would also be angry. Like Mount has not really done anything under you to come and say that like he deserves a start. Like I said, I'm not fully blaming Amorim for that situation, but at the same time it didn't make total sense to me that like Mount just starts over Garnacho for what I would say is no reason. It didn't make sense to me, and I honestly understand Garnacho's frustration since then. But like I said, like he could have executed it better. He could have made it a private conversation. He could have made it something that like it didn't have to go public. It didn't have to go public. So that is now where like he was wrong. So but since then now, Amrin basically said, find a team for yourself, and like just I'm done with you. I'm United. Fair enough. Fair enough, right? Like that happened. And the whole Garnacho Amorim thing has kind of been going on for some time because like, even when Amorim came, it was the whole thing with Rashford and Garnacho where like, they were out of the team. I think it was that Man City game that they both didn't play. And I think that at some point, I don't know what Garnacho did, but he got back in Amorim's good side. Maybe he started working hard the way Amorim wanted him to work hard, and he got back in Amorim's good side, right? And then he started playing again. So that happened, right? But like I feel like when this thing happened with the Europa League final, it kind of like had everything kind of rushing back for Ghana to like, everything that he dealt with in the beginning of him and Ruben Amin's relationship maybe started rushing back, and like, like maybe that relationship was just never fully there, and like Amin wants him out of United, right? So Amin has basically said, yeah, you're not in my plans anymore, right? Now there's multiple players that we know like are probably leaving United, like those five players that I mentioned earlier, Sancho, Anthony, Rashford has already gone, Malacia, and Garnacho. Out of those five players, not like out of the four, because Rashford has already gone, Garnacho is the only person that has something going for him right now in terms of a move away from United. Around Sancho, there's really nothing going on. Around Anthony, like there's some things going on, but there's really nothing like intense going on. Around Malacia, like maybe we'll get something on deadline day or something to like one of those teams in Netherlands, but like there's really nothing around them. Garnacho is the only player right now out of those players that like he's actually like genuinely linked to a team. A team actually genuinely wants him and wants to pay the fee, has the ability and is willing to pay that fee that United is putting out. Those other players, right? They have nothing. Like literally, like if they're getting linked to a club, like a player like Anthony, for example, now, like maybe a team, like maybe Robert is wanting back, they cannot afford the 40 million or whatever it is that United is quoting. Sancho's wages are too expensive, so he can't go to a team like Juve that cannot afford them wages. He cannot go to any team except for maybe a team in Saudi, and like he doesn't want to go to Saudi. And you have Malasia, who no team really wants to bet on him, but like a team in Netherlands will probably bet on him. So you have one of these players out of the four that like has something like genuine interest from another team, right? And then this transfer saga has been going on for quite some time, and it's kind of like as much as I don't want United to like settle for anything, like they need to stand their ground more and sell their players for a good fee. You cannot do selling players for anything just because you want them out of the club. I don't want that, and I don't want United to settle on a fee for Garnacho. I don't want United to go and say, okay, you know what, 35 million, and just so it can be off our books. No, you need to get all the money they can get for him. Garnacho is a quality player, and he's a talent regardless. Like regardless of anything anybody wants to say, Garnacho is an absolute talent. So with that, I think that Garnacho now has something genuine and he doesn't want to lose it. He doesn't want to lose that name because it's not going to take too much for Chelsea to like turn their head away and go and sign somebody else, right? Like it's not going to take too much for that to happen. I think that Chelsea can easily just be like, what, United is being too difficult, or like, we don't really want to deal with like this big club to big club thing right now. So like let's just go to a smaller club, or let's just go to somewhere else, maybe outside of England, to go and sign somebody else. It's not going to take too much from Chelsea. Most of the players, a lot of the players are from outside of England. They signed Gittins earlier this window, they signed Esteval. Like they can just go outside of England to sign, but they're not doing anything right now that says they have to sign Premier League proven talent, right? So it's not take too much for Chelsea to go and sign somebody. And Lookman, I think, is still free right now. There's just a good amount of players that they can go and sign. So Garnacho kind of like knowing that, being aware of that, is obviously has every right to come out and be like, yo, you guys need to get this transfer thing going because like you guys have already said that I'm gone, right? So like me, as I'm gone, my mind is gone. And the thing about that, the reason why I'm saying that like Garnacho might not be in the wrong, like I said, like his execution of everything that he's doing is bad. Like it's one of them ones where like as much as the idea is there, the execution is just horrible. So like I'm going to keep on reiterating that point that I think that the execution is terrible. But as much as that is bad, right? Like there's this whole thing about like, oh, players are under contract, so they shouldn't be acting out to their clubs and everything, right? Like there's that whole thing. So I now wonder, why is that only like brought up when like they're basically feeling bad for the club, or like they're basically taking the club side and basically being like, you can't do that to your club, you're the person that signed the contract. Why doesn't that also defend the player? And what I mean by that is that like with this Garnacho situation now, he has a contract with Manchester United. when his contract ends, I think it's like what 2027, 2028. I'm not really sure, but he has a contract with Man United right now, so he's basically obligated to play for Man United right now. Like everything that you want him to do, he's basically obligated to do it, right? But a manager can easily just come in. Any manager to any club can easily come into any club and just be like, yeah, I don't really have you in my plan, so safe. Like, you get what I mean? Like, it happens so often, it happens time and time again. And that's how managers be treating players. Like, we saw it with Chelsea. Enzo Maresca came in, Chaluba X, Gallagher X, like, and look at the way they did the whole Chaluba thing. Like, they ex Chaluba, sent him to Crystal Palace, and then when they realized they need him again, they brought him back. Like, that's how clubs, or that's how people, all these higher ups treat players when they have all the power, right? So there's this whole thing going on right now where like players are basically taking out back the power, and I feel like there's bad execution of it and there's okay execution. Same with the whole Isaac situation. And the Isaac thing is just a whole other story, because I think that Isaac, as much as like his right to maybe want to move away from Newcastle, I think that he waited too long. I think that waiting to like the whole Ekitike thing, like after the Ekitike deal got finished, and then you now said that, oh, me too, I want to move to Liverpool. It doesn't really make sense. Like, if anything, you should have done that during the Ekitike saga. Like, I don't know how informed players are about like all these transfers going on, but he should have done that before the Ekitike saga. Bid the person to go to Liverpool, and Newcastle signed Ekitike. It would have been a win-win. Liverpool would have gotten that man, and Newcastle would have gotten a lot of money, made a profit on Isaac, and then use that money to sign Ekitike and still have money to spare. It would have been a win-win, but he waited. Ekitike deal was finished. Liverpool said, we're not done here. We want another player, so they want Isaac, right? And that's when he now started doing this whole thing. I feel like it happened too soon. Like, sorry, it happened too late. I think that it happened too late for Isaac, right? So like, but like there's this whole thing about like players kind of like trying to take back the power, and I back that to a certain extent, because we now have to look at this whole thing that happened in Nottingham Forest and Morgan is right. Like, I'm not sure about like the full situation. Like, I'm not sure about like the whole behind the scenes. I'm not sure what exactly made it that the transfer could not go through. But like, Morgan White secured a move away from Nottingham Forest. He got the here we go, and it just looks like when you get the here we go, it's over. He was basically set to become a sports player, and next thing you know, Nottingham Forest basically like turn things around. That guy, I can't remember his name right now, the owner, basically turned things around, and Morgan White ends up being a Nottingham Forest player, and he renews his contract and everything with Nottingham Forest. So it's like when the higher ups are given that power to like handle these player situations and everything, like it almost seems as if like there's no thought about like the players, like there's no thought about like what they want, because like they're under contract. Like, we don't care what you want, you're under contract with us, we pay your wages and everything, and makes sense. That's how the world works. Like, we pay your wages, so we decide like what to do with you, kind of thing. Like, I'm not saying it's right, but like it's just the way it is. Like, it makes sense. That's the whole point of a contract. But also the point of a contract is to defend all parties involved, is to afford this amount of like security for both the team and the player slash the employee. Like, so it is to secure the future of both the team and the player. That's what it's for. But there's almost this like tunnel vision that it's only to provide that security for the club, but it is supposed to provide security for all parties involved. And I feel like players are not fully backed by contracts. Like, like the fact that a manager can just come in and just be like, yeah, you're not part of my plan, safe. Like, as much as like, it makes sense, like, like I have a new system, you don't really fit in this system, or like, I don't like you, so safe. Like, I hear it, but at the same time, like, it's cruel. It's not a manager acting out, but it's a manager doing what they can do. So when a player does what they can do in terms of like, maybe acting out, not pulling up the train and everything, they're basically scolded by like the media and everything. Like, oh, this guy's not pulling up the training. He looks so unserious. Like, who's still going to want him after that? Like, that's the way they talk about it. Not every situation, but that's the way they talk about it. I feel like, it's different for everybody, especially given how they're handling the situation as a whole. Like, this whole exact thing, like I said, is a whole thing. And I'm just wondering, like, with Garnacho now, like, he's under contract at United, but he has been told that he doesn't, that, like, he basically has no future at United. Fine. And now I'm going to ask you guys a question, right? Imagine that message or that letter or whatever it is that Garnacho sent, right? Imagine that that was a different message. Imagine that the message was, no, I don't really want to leave. I want to fight for my place in this club. Like, I'm an academy player for this club. I love this club with all my heart. I know that I've had our ups and downs, but I want to fight for my place in this club. If I don't fit in your system and everything, I'm going to try and make sure that I fit in your system. All of that, yada, 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 all of that. I want to ask, right? What would have been your response to a message like that? With Garnacho basically saying that I don't want to leave. Like, I know that Chelsea is interested in me, but like, turn them down. What would have been your reaction? Would you have been like, oh, he loves the club, let's keep him at the club and just back him to, like, fully fit in this system one day and just basically fight for his place? Would that have been a reaction of it? Would your reaction have been that, get out of my club, guy, like, we don't want you anymore, like, you don't fit in the system, you caused us problems in the past, it's too late for you, better secure that move to Chelsea, we'll even take like chicken change for you, we'll take 5 million for you if we have to, as long as you get out of my club, and like, we don't have to pay your wage bill anymore? Which one would have been your reaction? And give me like a genuine response. Like, don't give me that response that, like, you're just trying to, like, get your point across. Give me a genuine response. If Ganacho had basically said that I want to fight for my place at the club, what would have been your response? What would you have said? What would you have said? Because, like, it's so easy to look at it from, like, oh, Garnacho is like acting out and everything. We don't want you here, yada yada yada. It's so easy to look at it from, like, Garnacho being the villain in this story. But at the same time, like, I feel like us as fans as well, like, we can be a bit toxic at times. Like, we can be a bit toxic towards players. We don't fully accept them as human beings. And I'm just wondering, like, let's just say, like, you work at a company, right? And your manager basically says, find a new company. Like, I don't have any plans for you. Not even, why am I even saying that? The way it works in a real company is that, like, they don't give you notice before they fire you. Basically, they'll tell you, I think sometimes, like, if they're nice, they'll give you like 2 weeks notice, or I'll say maybe lay you off. Like, they don't give you too much notice before all these things happen, right? Like, they can literally fire you tomorrow and it's over for you, like, safe. We don't care what happens to you after that. But you're expected to give 2 weeks notice before you leave the company, based on contract, based on all these things. Now, I know that that's the way the world works right now, but let me ask you, do you think that that is fair? Do you think that it is, like, because I know the answer to that question, and a lot of people know the answer to that question. So I'm asking you as an unbiased thing, like, do you think that it is fair that a company can just fire you at any point in time? And, for you, when you want to leave, you have to give 2 weeks notice. Do you think that that is fair? And now revert it back, based on whatever your answer is, revert it back to this whole Garnacho situation. Do you think that it is fair that a manager can just come in and just be like, yeah, safe, but a player cannot basically act out when he wants to leave? Like, do you think that that's fair? I really want to think about that. Do you think that's fair? Like I said, this whole thing, like, Garnacho is not doing himself any favors by acting like this. Like, it questions his character. I'm seeing things that, like, Chelsea they're not really worried about his character and everything. That they're not judging his character based on this whole situation. So that's okay. But, like, I feel like I said, like, Garnacho has not fully executed the situation perfectly. Like, since the Europa League, he didn't express his displeasure the way he should have. And now this situation, like, basically sending a threat to United. Like, obviously it's not a crazy threat, but it's still, like, it's basically like an ultimatum slash threat that, like, I will not play, basically, and you guys will pay me regardless because I'm under contract. Like, that's basically what he's saying. But, like, you also have to think about, like, the general point of view. This is a World Cup year. You don't want to be doing all of this in a World Cup year, but at the same time, you do want to secure a move away from United, because a move away from United can get you into that World Cup team, and maybe staying within United might not get you into that Argentina team. So I see it from the 2 points of view. Like, you don't want to do something that will jeopardize your World Cup year, but at the same time, you want to get that move that can secure a place in a World Cup team. So I get that. I get that. So, like, it's also looking at it from 2 points of view, right? Like, I know United. And we are not a good selling club. Like, we've never been the best selling club. Like, a lot of times we list a player up for transfer and they end up staying at United. You end up paying their wages for a lot longer than, like, we want to, than we need to, that we should. And as much as, like, this is a new era, and, like, Ineos have kind of proven to be better at handling, like, football aspect of things, like, just handling our business in general, like, I still know my club, right? Like, it's still the same Man United. Like, we've never been the best selling club. Like, out of these 5 players or 4 players that are still here for transfers, and also Rasmus Højlund, who has kind of, like, joined that list potentially. How many players can you genuinely say, or do you genuinely think are going to secure transfers away from Man United? Like genuine, and I don't mean just like loans, because let's be real, like the max that these players are getting right now is loans. Anthony, I think that the max is getting like a loan with an option to buy. Same thing with Malacia. Same thing with Sancho. I don't think any of these guys are getting full time deals away from Man United this summer. I think that now the only person that can potentially get a full time deal away from Man United basically wants to do everything in his power to get that move away. So I cannot fully come and say that everything that is going on right now is at fault, but at the same time, I can say that he can kind of handle the situation a little better. But I'm just going to ask you guys now, like, what do you think? Like, do you think Garnacho is in the right? Do you think he's in the wrong? Let me know your point of view in the comments. But with that comes the end of this episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. You know, I really appreciate it. I'm going to try and stay consistent, keep on pushing out episodes, and I just hope to see you guys again next time.